Come back. We want to talk about farms now. Two major issues hang in the balance on Long Island. Can farmers have greenhouses and other structures on their land once they've sold the developmental rights to the county, essentially the taxpayers, and that for the purpose of preserving the properties as farmland? And secondly, where do solar farms or arrays belong? There's a debate over several proposals, including one to place a solar array right next to the never-opened Shoreham nuclear power plant by clearing hundreds of acres of trees. Take a look. For more than 20 years, the decommissioned Shoreham nuclear power plant remained off limits, gates locked. It was never opened because of community opposition being so intense. Now a Florida-based solar developer wants to clear 350 acres of trees on land owned by National Grid just west of the power plant. Next Era Energy says the giant solar array would be enough to power 13,000 homes with clean energy. But its proposal is dividing residents in the neighboring tree-lined communities.
I believe they should put it in an industrial center, not this center here. The trees are beautiful. They're never going to be replaced.
If it can help with supplying some clean energy to the area, I'm all for it.
The solar developer says trees would be replanted, but even environmentalists are divided over the proposal, which is being considered by the Long Island Power Authority, or LIPA.
Apart from the natural beauty, the trees do help provide oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. They provide a habitat for birds and animals.
Our position is using the site for solar is highly preferable to using it for yet another fossil fuel power plant or a highly industrialized port, both of which have been considered.
The Citizens Campaign for the Environment favors the solar farm because it could easily plug its energy into the power system already built for the closed nuclear plant. But town officials are not buying it.
We do not think the land should be clear-cut. We're opposed to this, and it goes against our zoning.
And this past week, the Brookhaven Town Board voted to say that solar panels should be put on rooftops or in parking lots, and they're against the clearing of any trees. But the developer is saying he looks forward to working with officials on the proposal. We'll see how that works out. Joining us now is Richard Amper. He is the executive director of the Long Island Pine Barrens Society. And we just saw that you're opposed to the solar farm at Shoreham. Give us a more detailed explanation.
Well, we don't want to cut down trees for solar. That's sort of like we have to destroy the environment in order to protect it. We need to put it where it belongs, on rooftops and parking lots, in any land that's cleared. We couldn't possibly meet the goals for solar power because we don't have enough land to accommodate that many solar panels. Now the proposal is to bring it in from other states by transmission line, so we're not tying up Long Island's precious and, by the way, expensive land to do it. So I think we can have both, but we shouldn't be playing one off against the other.
Yeah, I think, what's the name of the company? Invenergy, I believe.
Invenergy has got a proposal to bring in twice as much electricity as is proposed for that site at Shoreham, and it would cost less because the land where that solar and the wind is being generated is a lot cheaper than on Long Island. So it makes a lot of sense. I think we're going to resolve this.
You know, for people who are just observing it, their heads are spinning because so many different proposals have been put out there. You got the governor talking about, 50% by 2030, 50 by 30, I believe it's what it's called. And then controversy over him including us paying to help subsidize the nuclear plants, considering that part of green energy.
We haven't planned this out very well, Richard.
Well, everybody's saying they're green energy, but when you dig into the details.
Here's what the real problem about that is. We cannot actually meet that goal if we're eating up the land to do it. We don't have enough land on Long Island to do that. But more important than that is, I think the public is going to turn against these projects if they end up in residential communities, destroying forests, etc. We've taken about 25 years to get people to buy onto solar, and I think they're going to turn against it if it gets put in the wrong place.
And then there's confusion about whether we really need this energy. We went through in the past decade having LIPA buy stuff and make deals that for energy sources that were never used, cost tremendous amount of money, and then turn around and say, oh, we didn't really need it, and then make projections now that say, okay, we have enough, but maybe down the road we don't.
No, we really have.
Here we don't. What is the real deal there?
I think the real deal is that we need to replace the current fossil fuels with renewable energy. There's no doubt about that. It's a question of how you do it and where you do it, and it hasn't been thought out very well.
Well, you know what's somewhat surprising to people? A few environmental groups, you saw one there, there's another one that I'm aware of, came out in favor of putting that solar array over at the Shoreham nuclear plant. They say they totally get your objections and they share them, but they're concerned that lurking somewhere behind the scenes is going to be an attempt to bring in more fossil fuel plants or to renovate or upgrade the ones that exist already. Is that really really possible?
I think they'll get over that in a little bit. I think we have a solution to the problem. I think we are going to do more solar. We need to do more wind. It's more efficient even than solar. I think we're ready to do that. We just have to do it in the right place so the public doesn't turn against it.
All right, let's turn to the other topic we discussed at the top here, the recent court decision in the case that your organization, the Pine Barrens, successfully brought before State Supreme Court Judge Thomas Whalen. Explain that ruling and what it means.
Well, for years, the people of Long Island have put up money to buy development rights from farmers. That is, if they agree to not develop the land, not build on it, not destroy the scenic vistas, not remove the soils, keep farming looking like farming, if they do that, the public has put up $200 million to pay them not to develop. But now, as a result of laws that politicians made, now they are basically allowing them to build on land they were paid not to build.
Yeah,
the
that's
court said that's not going to work out. And it's got a second problem. It's going to deter the public from putting up the money. The people of Long Island have put up $2.5 billion to protect water and land, and they're not going to do it if the land that they're trying to protect is going to get developed anyway. That's a very serious danger.
Well, what kind of structures are we talking about here?
We're talking about everything. And the funny part about this is they could build anything they want. The farmer could build buildings, they could build farm structures, they could build, but what they have done instead is they've given up that right by taking money to not develop the land, and then April Fool, they develop it anyway. You understand, the public voted for all these things at referendum. And if you're going to change it, you can only do it by going back to the public in referendum. Well, that's not what the politicians did, and it's not what the farmers are doing now.
Yeah, and there's a big referendum for East End voters to consider on this issue Tuesday, Election Day, where some of the money could be used to
real good news. Extend the Community Preservation Fund. It's been a success since 1999. If they vote for it, we're going to see not just more preservation of farmland and open space, but we're also going to be allowed to spend 20% of that money to improve water quality. Win-win.
Well, we'll be watching to see what happens. Richard Amper, Executive Director of the Long Island Pine Barrens Society, thanks for coming in and updating on this.
Good to see you.
And we'll be right back.